What's up, fool? So check it. This is part 2 of what will be a 3-part story. So if you haven't seen part 1, go back and check it so you know what's up. Okay, so if you remember from part 1, Mr. Stone and Lahaina just got to her village to start making an army. But not everybody want to be a part of an army, you know? Some of these fools are like, hey, wait, why you trying to get us caught up in your stuff, fool? We just kicking it here, we fishing, you know? We making like chanclas. They're kind of ugly, but we make them, they're ours, fool. And Mr. Stone's like, mira, and who are you? So, I gotta introduce you fools. Right now, we got Gringo and Mr. Straight Edge. These two fools are the guards. They're like protecting the city, you know? They're like, hey, nobody come through here, dog. This is border patrol. Gringo is, I don't know how to say this nicely, but Gringo is a wimp. And then Mr. Straight Edge, that fool is just like really about the rules. He like, hey, fool, the rules are the rules. Nobody come through here. So they're not gonna let Mr. Stone inside of the village. And Mr. Stone's like, orale, why not? And he's like, hey fool, we don't know who you are. You can't come in here like you know the place, okay? And he's like, orale pues, let me see if you guys could handle this. So he starts doing his sciencey thing and he starts blowing bubbles and whatever. And out of nowhere, this other fool pops up and he's like, hey wait, what you doing in my hood, ese? You don't know what's up then, do you? And he's like, and who are you, fool? You think you hard? Let me show you what's up, fool. So they decide to go have their little fight up on top of the hill. Cause that's where this fool lives. And I don't know how many of you fools know this, but you don't want to have a bruja living adentro de tu pueblo, okay? Because the next thing you know, you're gonna start seeing a lot of crows, you're gonna see a lot of tecolotes. There's a lot of problems that come if you let one of those fools live inside of your village. So they have their little fight, and it turns out that this fool really isn't a bruja. In fact, he's just dumb. He collects a lot of rocks though, so I guess him and Mr. Stone have a lot in common. So after that, Lahaina's like, okay, well, that was weird. I'm gonna go say what's up to my sister. And that's when Mr. Stone's like, órale, you didn't tell me you had a sister? Pues introdúzame. I wanna say what's up. How's she doing? She's like, my sister dying, fool. That's good. And she's like, what you mean that's good? How could that be good? My sister dying, ese? How could you say that's good? You know what? I'm glad they don't let you inside now. And he's like, no, check it. If I could cure your sister, then everybody's gonna be like, órale, this fool's down. He could save us. And then they'll join me and we'll fight Rambo. You remember that fool? The fool who killed me? I bet you remember, fool. You were there, remember? You remember, no? He killed me. And Lahaina's like, ¿sabes qué? I wish you stayed dead. And he's like, oh, how could you be so mean? So after Mr. Stone tells baby Mr. Stone, that's this fool by the way, he tells baby Mr. Stone all about the crazy sciencey stuff. He's like, órale, wey, I want to help you, fool. He's like, cool, check it. This is what we gotta do. We gotta make like this funny looking pipe thing. Now, I don't remember what that thing was supposed to do, but I do remember that they were supposed to go into the river and start looking for stuff. And that's when the real star of the show shows up. That's right. This is El Tomate Verde! Who would have thought that they put a luchador inside of an anime? This is like the greatest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And that's why this is such a good anime también. Don't forget that. So they try working on their, their big pot looking thing. And that's when they realize that they're going to need a lot more people to help them make this thing. But they can't go inside of the village. So they come up with a great idea. They figure they're going to make a lot of pasta. And I'm like, ¿sabes qué? That's a good idea, fool. If you guys make like a lot of pasta, you're going to get all the fools off the village. And then they're going to want to eat your pasta. And then, ¡paz, cabrón! You got them all. They're going to work for you for free, ese. And that's exactly what happens. Until Payaso shows up. He's like, what's up, fool? Mr. Stone, I ain't seen you in a minute, ese. What you been doing, fool? And he's like, hey, Payaso, I don't need you in here right now, fool. You're gonna mess everything up. And he's like, nah, chales, wey, don't even trip. It's gonna be okay, fool. I got you. And he's like, nah, no mames, wey. I know how you roll, ese. I know what you do. You're probably working for Rambo. And he's sent you to come over here so that you could come and kill me or something. And Payaso is like, Rambo, fool? Nah, no mames, wey. I don't even know who Rambo is. What makes you think I'm gonna be working for him? Thankfully, Lahaina, Gringo, and Straight Edge all have trust problems. Because they straight run up on him. They're like, hey, fool, I don't trust you, dog. And he's like, hey, chill, fool, chill. It's okay. I'm just here to see what you fools are doing, you know? There's no reason to be sketched out or nothing. And Lahaina's like, I see this fool. I know what he's doing. He's gonna try and report you to Rambo, fool. And Mr. Stone is like, I know. Check it. I'm gonna convert this fool right now, watcha. And he turns on a fucking light bulb. And I'm just like, how's that gonna convert this fool, eh? You turn on a light bulb? What? While that light bulb is turned on, Payaso's like, hey, wait, I'm gonna go pick some strawberries. I'll be right back, okay? And he starts to dip it. You know he's gonna go say what's up to Rambo, but that's not what happened. Cause Payaso gets jumped by Muscles. Muscles is like, nah, chales, way, I don't trust you in your brujerias. I'm not gonna put up with that stuff in my village, I say. Mr. Stone rolls up on Payaso with La Jaina and somebody else, I can't remember. And they're like, hey, wait, where them strawberries, fool? And La Jaina's like, oh no, this fool crushed them all. And Mr. Stone like, nah, fool, this fool got jumped. And La Jaina's like, is that really that bad though? I mean, let's be real, he kinda sucks. And he's like, I know that, but if this fool don't go back to Rambo and tell him I'm dead, this whole village is gonna go up in flames. And she's like, hey, that's not gonna be cool, fool, cause we still got the competition to see who the new jefe is. And Mr. Stone like, wait, what? There's a competition to be the new jefe? And she's like, yeah, fool, I tell you about this, no? He's like, no, if you told me this, I could have been doing that instead. And she's like, oh, my bad. So while Payaso's on the floor recovering, he starts mumbling some things. And Mr. Stone is like, hey, wait, you good? What's up, dog? And he's like, fool, I want a soda. And he's like, it's okay, homie, you know I got you. I never let the homies down, you know this. And with that, Payaso books it. So the next morning comes around, and now Mr. Stone's like, hey, I need to make glass. And the whole village is like, hey, I don't know what that is, but I got you. So they make the glass. And this is when we find out the most depressing thing about this entire anime. El tomate verde is not a luchador. El tomate verde is actually just blind. Oh yeah, and Straight Edge he's also blind, but like, who cares? So they try to make the glass, and it turns out that they really suck at it. So they do the next best thing, and they kidnap the elderly. And if you know anything about anime, is that all the old people in anime are secretly ripped. And apparently really good at making glass. So now they got Abuelito making the glass, and Mr. Stone is like, oye, we need to go find ourselves some poisonous air. And baby Mr. Stone is like, hey fool, why you want poisonous air? And Mr. Stone like, fool, don't you remember I'm gonna go cure that one chick? I'm gonna go make sure that she's not sick no more. He's like, well, what about the glass? He's like, hey, wait, I could do more than one thing at a time. What, you think I can't do more than one thing at a time? Because I can do a lot of things at the same time. And he's like, okay, calmate, güey, chill. How you gonna find the poison air anyway? He's like, check it, dog, I got this. And so he gets a spear and he sticks it and he makes it watch out silver. And it turns out that silver doesn't like poison air. Y sabes que I don't either, so I guess we got that in common. But now they need like a guinea pig. Because poison air, you know, is gonna take you out. You don't want to mess with poison air. You can't even see that stuff. And that's where they get Gringo. This fool thinks that he's a bodyguard, not a guinea pig. Which works out great because we all know this fool a coward. But they gotta tell that fool, hey, wait, don't get too close because you're gonna die. And that's when everything goes sideways. Because now this fool is scared. And they need to go back there and collect all the poison water. Because I guess the poison air used to be water. And I don't know how like the whole photosynthesis or none of that works. I'm not a scientist. So they go back to the village and they make the gas masks. Because now both Mr. Stones are gonna go get some of the poison water. And while they're there, Mr. Stone almost died. But baby Mr. Stone is like, hey, wait, watch out, fool, you're gonna die. He's like, órale, fool, gracias. But because baby Mr. Stone freak out, he almost fall in the poison water. And that's where Gringo comes in to save the day. He rolls up out of nowhere with his stick and he's like, watch out, fool, watch out, I got you. He's like, órale, güey, gracias. But he's freaking out and he's breathing like all crazy hard. And he's like, hey, güey, cálmate, cabrón, cálmate. And Gringo's like, okay, I got this. And he's, watch out, he throws that fool over. And I'm like, where'd this fool get all that strength from? This fool wasn't that strong before. Anyway, so they go back to the city with their little water and whatever. And this is where the sad things happen. Mr. Stone, he goes and he traumatizes El Tomate. Wait, hold on. She's not a luchadora, just remember that. Pues Chiquita. That's what she's gonna be known as from now on. But he does it over and over and he's constantly traumatizing her. And I'm like, fool, why you gotta do that, dog? She's just a little girl, dog. You don't gotta do that to little girls. And then I remember this is anime, so he probably could have been doing something way worse. Anyway, the fight coming up, but they're not ready for that kind of stuff, you know? They gotta go up against muscles. But these fools aren't ready yet. So they come up with the next best thing. They decide to cheat. And I know a lot of you people don't want to hear this, but sometimes cheaters win. Even La Chiquita got in on this. She starts praying, right? And she goes,
Dios, por favor, no dejas que ese idiota con los músculos grande gana. Y si se gana, que todos sus almohadas apestan a pies y que se le suelte el elástico de todos sus calzones.
Remember how I said sometimes cheaters win? Well, this isn't one of those times because everything that could go wrong goes wrong. They even kidnapped La Chiquita. And judging by this fool's face, you know I was a little worried. But nothing bad happened. So, La Chiquita manages to escape and she books it back to the competition. When she gets back to the city, That's when she saved Straight Edge from getting jumped by Muscles. And it was crazy because this is when we find out the real identity of El Tomate Verde! There's explosions, there's cheering, estaba bien dramático, serio. But he loses anyway, so I guess it doesn't really matter. So there were a few more fights, I think, but none of those really mattered. Because Baby Science Man, Little Mr. Stone, this fool's up against Los Muscules. And I know what you're thinking. There's no way this fool's gonna win. And I would agree. But this fool does some crazy magic-y stuff and he lights them on fire. Oh yeah, Payaso came back to get his soda or something. That was, a thing that happened. When the fight's over, Little Mr. Stone, he wins. Cause he knocked that fool off the cliff. He survived. It's not that kind of anime, relax. Anyway, as soon as he realized that his lady, the one who's all sick and about to die, that she's cool, he passed out. And that would normally be a good thing, except that's not how this anime rolls, because he was supposed to fight Mr. Stone. This was gonna be like one of those Star Wars things, the student surpassed the master. You know how that whole thing goes. That's what was supposed to happen, and it didn't happen. And it didn't happen because he's passed out, and now Mr. Stone, he is the new jefe of the village. And this is when he find out that he is also married to the Jaina that's gonna die. As soon as he find out that he was gonna get married to that one Jaina, he looks at the other one, his Jaina, the one that's actually after him, and he's like, hey, you were gonna marry your sister? Because she was gonna try and win, remember? And she goes, hey, I am a horny teenage anime girl. I don't care. And I'm like, hey, man, she kinda got a point, dog. Anime and Alabama both start with an A. So Mr. Stone like, nah, chales, I ain't getting caught up in all this. I'm divorcing you. Go marry your sister if you want. And while all this is going on, Payaso finally gets his soda. So now that Payaso got his soda and everybody's happy, he gets the antibioticos and he shoves it down the freaking sister's throat. And she's like, I'm dying. Mr. Stone realized that the antibioticos might not be working. So he picks up one of the mice and he starts doing the operation. And when he's doing that, he's like, ay, wait, I know what this is. And everybody's like, serio, fool? You know what's up? Well, pues tell me, dog, is everything cool? Or is my sister gonna die? What's up? And he's like, nah, fool, nah, check it. This is gonna bring your sister like 100%. And so now the sister's doing a lot better, right? And she comes up to Dr. Stone and she's like, hey, wait, you are now the president of the Chichigami village, or the Ichigami village.
Ishigami Senku.
Ishigami village. That word right there. He is now the president of that village with that name. And this fool's like, ¿qué? And she's like, yeah, fool. I got some crazy stories to tell you now, dog. And this is where the backstories kick in. So what happened was, when the seaweed attack, this fool's papa was up in space, right? So it didn't get him. Him and his whole crew were up in space, like they were looking for Los Marcianos or whatever, I don't even know. But they were up there. Eventually, they see the seaweed attack. They're like, ay, wait, ¿qué es eso? So they try calling to like the mission control and they're like, hey, wait, what's happening? What's up, fool? And they don't get nothing. It's like, hey, ¿sabes qué? I think something bad happened. So they go down to Earth and they're like, hey, what happened? And they see that nobody's alive, like everybody a rock. They're like, okay, pues, ¿sabes qué? We need to restart humanity. And that's what they do. They start making the babies and everything. And I'm over here thinking, if what this Jaina is saying is true, then that means that not a single person in here ever did time. They never broke out. They just always been there. And that's just crazy to think about, that these fools have been here for so long. And it was all because of this fool papa who fell out of the sky. And I'm just like, man, that's crazy. Anyway, the story wraps up, It's all good. It's like, hey, that's crazy, I guess I'm like one of your gods or whatever because I'm inside of your stories. And they're like, yeah, fool, that's what's up. And then when they're all done drinking, that's when Payaso comes out. He's like, oye, I got a message to tell you, fool. And Mr. Stone like, let me guess. Rambo's about to attack, huh? And he's like, you know what's up, fool? And right as he say that, Gringo and Straight Edge, those fools see Rambo's crew kicking it in the bushes, getting ready to attack. Sadly, that's where this episode is gonna have to end. Part 2 of 3 is now over. If you fools want to know what's gonna happen next, make sure to watch the third and final part of this 3-part series. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Y sabes que, follow me on Twitter so you can stay up to date with all that's going on. Y con eso, hasta luego.